Oh hey everyone watching this video. How are you? I want to talk today about myself. God, that sounds so egotistical when I say that, but yeah, I've created a lot of content in the last 2 years on my blog and here on this channel, and I think it's time that I get a little more personal and just open up about my history, who I am, my story. Obviously, by the nature of this topic, it's going to be a longer video. In fact, I kind of just want to give you like a basic understanding today, like paint a picture, and then go into more like niche subjects in later videos, such as like my relationships, or my religious history, or my diet, which is another big one. So if you have any specific questions about anything that comes up in this video, please, I hope you can feel comfortable commenting and leaving your questions down below. I read them all. That can help me kind of steer me in a direction for future videos. So my name is Dorothea Vasicek. I was born March 7th, 1990 in a city just outside of Chicago, Illinois. When I was 5 years old, my family and I moved to Massachusetts, which is where I spent the rest of my childhood until I was 18. I have 3 older siblings, 2 sisters, 1 brother. We're all about 2 years apart, more or less. My parents raised us Mormon, which, if you know anything about this religion, it's on the stricter end. They have very specific standards and lifestyle guidelines that they give the members, and because of this, I was raised semi-sheltered, I would say, or very sheltered. But it's kind of funny because now I can appreciate it in a new way. I don't identify with it anymore, but I'm grateful for it in a weird way because it's given me the freedom as an adult to kind of pick and choose what I want to try. Although I did have my rebellious phase, yeah, I feel much more comfortable just being who I am now. A lot of people will tell you that being the youngest is a charmed existence. Like, you get everything you want, you get to do everything like at a younger age than everyone else because the parents are more lax. All those things have their elements of truth. I would beg to differ. I don't think being the youngest is necessarily the best birth order. I don't know if there is a best birth order, but in my experience, I struggled being the youngest. My brother was always really independent, being the oldest and being the only boy in the family. He always did his own thing. And then my 2 middle sisters were just always super tight, super close, always had their inside jokes and their games. And I felt like a tag-along. I was with them a lot. I also got made fun of a lot and poked at because I wasn't as quick-witted. Yeah, I mean, all in all, I had a pretty charmed childhood, I'd say. We had a really big backyard. I could run around, go in the woods. There was a stream. I mean, it was a really beautiful place, beautiful part of the country to grow up in. As a child, I had a very strange and inexplicable obsession. I don't know where it came from, but it kind of explains my lifestyle now of travel. But my obsession was with maps. I was obsessed, and I really do mean obsessed. I would spend hours tracing, memorizing flags, learning about all parts of the world. I was particularly obsessed with South America. I don't really know why. I think it was because of the Amazon. I loved cultures and climates and countries and everything having to do with the world. Yeah. It was just my thing. I didn't get my first flavor of international travel until I was 17. And my parents approached me and they said, we'll either buy you a car or we'll give you a trip. And I said, trip, please, 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 please give me a trip. So they sent me to study abroad in Morocco for part of the summer. And it was just an incredible experience, changed my life on so many levels. It really sparked the travel bug in me in a big way. Rewind a little bit, back to my childhood. Around the age of 12, my life changed dramatically, and it seemed like it was all happening overnight. I know it didn't, but it just happened really fast. So my brother was 18, and he left the house to serve his mission for the church. My sister was living abroad in France, and my other sister was starting a long series of residential treatment for her eating disorder. Because of all of this, we went from a full house of 6 people to me being an only child. Really fast, really, really, really suddenly. And not only was I suddenly an only child, but I also was having to beg for attention from my parents because they they were devoting their time and attention to my sister for good reason. And like logically, I understand that like they were saving her life, and that was obviously a priority. But emotionally, I felt left in the dust. To put it lightly, I felt really empty, and I felt like I wasn't getting my needs met in that way. That, combined with hormonal and other bodily changes around these years, led me to have my first boyfriend at age 14. He was my best friend, and we dated, if you want to call it that, until 17. This whole time, I was living exactly how I was told I should live, you know, like as a good Mormon girl, minus the fact that I was dating. I didn't see anything wrong with it because I really liked him. I really had strong feelings for him. I understand now that that age is a very sensitive age, and because of this relationship that I had with him, I tied my identity with him really closely, which caused lots of problems when it came time for us to go our separate ways. I kind of went crazy. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know who I was. You know, I had this identity crisis, like, who am I without my other half? This led me to a very rebellious period in my life where I basically decided, to hell with it, I'm gonna do everything that everyone has always told me never to do. I smoked weed, had sex, drank, just did everything for the first time. But I kept it completely secret from my family because I was scared shitless that they would find out. Really, that was like my worst fear. It was them finding out. And so I was living this double life where I would go out with my friends, do our thing, and then come home and just pray and go through all the ropes of religion. And it caused me a lot of pain to be, you know, spreading myself this thin over these two dramatically different lifestyles. Eventually, I came clean to my parents, and I fully expected them to just embrace me and say, wow, you've been carrying so much, like, you know, we just want to love you and accept you for who you are now. And like, I was fully expecting this reaction, and instead I got the exact opposite reaction. They basically looked at me and said, we don't know who you are. Like, you're not our daughter. Like, our daughter wouldn't do this stuff. Which really, really hurt me to the core. And shortly after I came out to them, I moved to Utah, which is like 2,000 plus miles away. I was just decided that I hated Utah. Like, I was only brought to Utah because of this stupid religion that I hated. I was suddenly surrounded by Mormons, and all I wanted to do was reject Mormonism, and I found myself in this place, like the promised land of Mormons, and it was just so ironic. And shortly thereafter, I met the man who would become my husband. Yes, I've been married. We dated for 2 years, on and off, before deciding to get married. We got married in May of 2001. I was 21 when I got married. I didn't get married for love. It wasn't like, I love you so much I can't live without you. It didn't feel like that, at least. And I remember the conversations that we had leading up to our engagement and leading up to our marriage, and it was really just a convenience thing. Like, we were like, well, we want to live together, but it's super taboo in our cases to live together without being married because we were both raised Mormon, although neither of us were practicing. So we're like, well, for the sake of not offending our families and for the sake of, like, we'd probably get married anyways, like, why not get married? Which now I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, that's not the smartest thing to do. But, you know, hindsight's 2020. Basically, from day one of our marriage, we had problems. We had a lot of problems. We were fighting all the time. He had a very specific image of how he wanted me to be and look like and act. And I like to say that he loved me for my potential. Like, he saw me and he saw, like, how good I could be in his eyes, like his picture of that, which wasn't the same as my picture of my potential. And so, although we had some things overlapping there, it caused a lot of conflict and it caused a lot of fighting. We endured it for 3 years before I realized quite suddenly that I couldn't do it anymore. And about 48 hours after deciding that I couldn't do it anymore, I asked for a divorce. And ever since then, I have been living on the road. That's basically when my blog started and when I started this YouTube channel. It's funny because the months between when I asked him for a divorce and when we got divorced, it was 2 months. We still lived together for part of that, and it was the best part of our relationship. Like, I really honestly look back to that period, and although it was very sad and we were rehashing a lot of our history and everything, it was like 2 months of breaking up. Like, we got to talk about everything, and we could just talk really openly and candidly about everywhere that went wrong, everything, all of our issues. Just be really honest with each other for the first time ever, which felt really good. You know, I don't regret it at all. Like, I think marrying him was the best decision I ever made, and I equally think that divorcing him was the best decision I've ever made. I wouldn't change it, you know? It was a lot of learning, and it was a lot of compromising. During all of this time, I was also coming to terms with religion. Food-wise, I've had my challenges. I've gone through the ropes of being vegetarian and vegan and raw vegan and 80-10-10 and to where I am now, which is kind of just unidentifiable. And now I'm living my dream. I'm traveling. This is like really what I've always wanted, just to be able to live on the road, learn languages and experience life in as many different forms as I possibly can. If this subject appeals to you and you want to know more about me and my history and my story, please feel free to comment down below with questions that you might have. And I'll be making follow-up videos to expand on this topic. As always, you can follow my blog, rawwanderlust.com, and my Instagram account, which is @rawwanderlust. Okay, till next time. See you guys.